Hey there, this is Kristen Mooring. I'm doing my third observation video thingamajigger. I only had one school I went to for this last one. I got my last hour, and at this a local preschool called Trinity Preschool. Is at a church that's like right near our house. Um, and since I only did one, I'm just gonna compare this to kind of like the rest of the schools that I went to. Um, for this, it was a very small classroom. I think it was 14 kids. Um, and it was a very small classroom, but because these are little guys, they were like ages 3 to 5. 5 was the maximum. There was a couple of 5-year-olds. Most of them were 3 or 4, and it was a really interesting class because I knew that preschool was going to be different. Like even from kindergarten, it was going to be different because they're so little. But it's interesting because for the most part they were just playing, but it was like constructive playing. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm just gonna run around and be Superman and whatever. It's like they played like with construction kind of things. Like they had these magnet blocks that they would use to construct things like houses and stuff like that. And they had like a huge setup with a bunch of wooden blocks. It was really cool. And they had different sections around the room for like, they had like one like section that was like the Play-Doh place, and then there was like the toy place, and then there was like some tables off in the corner. There was another section I can't remember, and then there was another part of the room that was specifically for like when the teacher would teach them. There was a big rug they'd all sit on or stand on and like do their little more lessony things there. And one of the most interesting things about it was, instead of being just one teacher trying to corral all these kids, there was two. The main teacher was Miss Pam, and there was another one whose name escapes me. But they both were in there, like, seeing what each student needed, seeing, like, teaching them things they wanted to learn, and just basically helping them manage all these hyper little things. Because, boy, they were crazy. There were little girls pretending to be horses and kicking everywhere, and little boys and girls being superheroes. It was adorable, but it was, they're little. They were hyper, but it was cool because they each got given individual attention they needed. Even though it was a small class, they still all got a lot of attention, which I didn't see in any other classroom. Like, even though they would try, there was still only one teacher, and just like, for example, the kindergarten class I observed over at Butterfield Elementary, there was like 25 kids in there, I think, and one teacher. And that's a lot to deal with, especially because they're still really young, and they're still can be hard to kind of like settle down and all that. But for this, it was like much less kids, but a lot more individual attention. And the way they learned was very good because, like, for example, they did this game where they were learning syllables, which I don't even think the kindergartens I saw knew about, like, syllables. They were learning about like words with 1, 2, 3, and 4 syllables. They clap out the sounds and put these little word block things, or little tablets, I guess, I don't know what you call them, into these little boxes that were like labeled with numbers and with colors. And so it'll be like, oh, if butterfly is butterfly, it's a 3-syllable word, and they would learn, okay, that goes in the yellow box with the 3 on it, and they put it in there. So, and like each kid would take a turn and go around in a circle. So they'd guess one word, and the next person would do another one and another one. So they learned colors, they learned how to take turns properly, and they learned syllables, and they learned numbers. Like 4 things in one game, and that was like really not advanced, but just really, I guess advanced. We'll go with advanced. It was a great way to learn while they were playing, and they didn't know they were learning. These guys are just like, yay, syllables, clapping, cool, game. But they were learning throughout it, even though they didn't know they were. And it was a very warm and open environment that, where all the other classes I saw were a lot more structured. And I'm not sure if this is just purely because of the preschool, or if this is because this was the kind of learning environment they wanted to give the kids. But I think it was very helpful for them. I think it helped them learn better and, interact very well with each other. Like, all the kids got along great. We only saw one fight. It was between two little girls. I think they were trying to put away the Play-Doh or something, and one of them was trying to close the lid, and the other one didn't want to close the lid for some reason, and one started pulling the other one's hair, and the teacher came over, and instead of just sending one to timeout, she said, she pulled the student aside and said, that wasn't very nice. How would you feel if someone pulled your hair? And she's like, oh, I wouldn't like it. And she's like, yeah, see, so, it's not good to pull other people's hair to try to resolve your problems, because that doesn't fix it. You need to talk with her and figure things out before you resort to hurting people. Hurting people isn't good. And so, she had the girl apologize to the other one, and they finished cleaning up, and it was all good. And I really like that. Instead of, in a larger, less individualized classroom, you don't really have time to do that. You don't have time to sit them down and explain to them why something is bad. They just say, this is bad, go to the corner, be punished. And, if they do continue, I asked about it, like, if they do continue to be bad, then, they will get, a timeout or something. But most of the time they just resolve it through talking, not through, like, actually laying down the law with an iron fist or anything. And they are just little kids, so they are still learning this. But I just thought it was a really good environment for them that I didn't really see with any of the other classes. It was really good, and I really think the students were, like, miles ahead of some of the kindergartners that I saw, because they are getting this learning now. They aren't just being babysat. They aren't just being, like, tossed in there and being like, oh, go play, whatever. Like, no, they're actually being taught things, taught social skills, like language skills, math skills, all these skills that these kids are going to be able to use once you get into kindergarten, first grade, and all that. And it was really nice. And it really helped me learn that, that these kind of things do need to be implemented in higher learning. Like, these kind of, like, individualized attention really does need to be implemented through more school, because it really does help. Because each student, if they had a question, like, one kid had a question about, like, these cute little dinosaur toys, and one was, like, that hard-headed dinosaur, I can't remember his name, Placky, whatever. And he's like, oh, is this a T-Rex? And the little girl's like, no, it's not a T-Rex. And he's like, teacher, what dinosaur is this? And she's like, oh, well, we'll find out. So she got a little book and was able to show them what dinosaur it was and teach them about other dinosaurs, and just, learning just through, like, oh, I like this dinosaur. What is this dinosaur? And they make a little lesson out of it. And it was cool. And I guess my whole point is just the more individual attention you give a student, the better off they'll be in the long run, because up until a certain point where, like, when they get to higher level, yeah, they need to let off a little bit, but just a little more attention can do a lot of good, and I really want to try to do that when I become a teacher. It's going to be hard, because, of course, I'm not going to have just 14 kids, probably. I'll probably have, like, 500, who knows. But just a little extra time can go a long way, and that's, I think, the biggest thing I've learned throughout all of this, is just a little bit of extra time with students can go a heck of a long way. And that's about it. Yay!